back on another video. If you've been here before, then you know what the fuck going on. If you ain't, go ahead and subscribe so you can find out. Today I'm going to be doing a little story time from when I was younger, and I also feel like this would be kind of good for my healing. So let's get to it. This story is the story of how I ended up in foster care because I was being molested. This all started at the age of 7. I lived with my grandmother, me and 4 other siblings, and another family member that I won't mention. So we're gonna call this family member Bob. So it was me, my 4 siblings, 1 was a sister, 3 brothers, and then we have Bob. My grandma used to go run her errands and stuff. Bob is who would come and sit with us until she got back. This particular day, my grandmother went to the grocery store and we were left with Bob. Bob loved to play hide and seek. This day, you know, we're like getting ready to play hide and seek, and I just always wanted to have the best hiding spot. My goal was just to not be caught first, because if I was caught first, I knew what was going on from there. This particular day, we were playing hide and seek. I thought I hid really well, but it was very common that I was the first one found. So to this day, I really don't know how I was always the first person to be found. So yeah, go hide, everybody go hide, and I just hear like footsteps coming towards me, and I already know what the fuck going on. So the footsteps got closer. Eventually they got to me, and I was told by this family member, Bob, to go sit on the couch in the living room. And I did that. And I can honestly sit on here and admit to you guys, it was no fight. And I asked myself to this day, like, Nina, you know, why didn't you ever, like, you know, put up a fight? Why didn't you ever? I don't know. I don't have a reason. I don't have a reason why I didn't put up a fight. But when I got to the couch, if you know me, when I was younger, I was a huge Sierra fan. I loved Sierra. I wanted to be Sierra. Like, that's my girl. So he told me, you know, you're Sierra and I'm Bow Wow. And he pulled out his, and he told me to suck it, jack it, touch it, all of that. And that basically just went on until everyone came out of hiding. Like, why are we not found? So that went on for a while. It went on for a couple of years, and in the middle of those years, in the middle, not at the end, I ended up going to school. When I got to school, I had this friend, and we're gonna name her Keisha. Me and Keisha were real close, but when I got to school that day, I just realized something was off. Something was off with Kim. So I'm sitting there, I'm asking Kim, like, what's wrong? I can tell something is wrong. We talk every day. Something's off. Like, what's going on? And she just started explaining, and she told me everything that was going on. You know, her dad was being abusive to her mom, and he was just getting drunk, and she just could not take it for too much longer. Once Keisha got done venting to me, I really felt comfortable enough to where I just felt like, you know, I just feel like I need to get something off my chest to Keisha. But this conversation is between us. So whatever we're saying to each other right now, we gonna pinky promise that we not gonna mention it to nobody else. And that's what we did. So we pinky promised. And I told her, you know, Bob was touching me and making me touch him. Yeah, when I say it felt so good to get it off my chest, just to talk to somebody about it after hiding it for this long, it just felt so good to get off my chest. But I just was so fearful that it was gonna get out. Why? I don't know. So that day went by, you know, I get home, everything's the same, and I go to school the next day. And as soon as I get in class with her, I'm like, what's up, Keisha? You know, hey, girl. We did just have a deep-ass talk yesterday, and she was just acting really strange. I'm just like, what's going on? And lo and behold, there's a knock at the classroom door, you guys. So a lady walks in. She asks for Nina. I get up, I walk out of class with her, and she takes me to her office. So when we get to the office, she was just asking me, you know, how are you mentally? How are you doing? I'm just like, I'm okay. And I had a feeling in my body that something was off, you guys. I had a feeling something was off. But I just knew we made a pinky promise. Like, and pinky promises meant so much. Y'all, a pinky promise meant so much to me. I was just so stuck on the fact that I just knew this girl didn't say anything. The guidance counselor came out, she was like, tell me about your situation at home. And I'm just like, what situation at home? And that's when she brought up this situation with Bob. But at first I was denying it until she just was so persistent, y'all. She just would not stop. She would not stop. And finally she got me to break down, and I was just like, you know what? Okay, it happened. And she was like, what happened? I went over the story with her, and immediately after, I just had this big feeling of regret. I just knew this was not going to end up good. So I got home later that day after school, and when I got home, I just felt something was off. I just knew something was off because my grandma was sitting on the porch. My grandma was never just sitting on the porch when we got home, so I just knew walking from that bus to the house like something was about to happen. So when I arrived to the porch where my grandma was sitting, she was like, we need to talk. And I was just like, what's up, grandma? So she asked me, like, why did you go tell them people that and not tell me? And I was just like, I don't know. You know, I was scared. She kind of asked me what happened, and I kept it real simple. I told her, you know, Bob was touching me, and Bob was making me touch him. And I never forget the look on her face when she said to me, and that's a lie. I never leave y'all home alone. And I honestly didn't have too much to say. It was like I didn't even want to make her try to believe me. Just the fact that she didn't believe me just put me in the biggest state of shock. I didn't know how I expected that situation to turn out, but I did not expect it to turn out like this. So I get mad and I immediately walk into the house, and when I get in the house, I just knew that my grandma had already talked to Bob because Bob was sitting in the house waiting on me to come in to ask me why did I tell on him. He asked me why did I tell on him. Not only did he ask me why did I tell on him, he was like, you know, rubbing his hands on my body as he asked me. It was kind of like he knew he was gonna get away, you know? He just knew he was gonna get away with it. He was so careless. So, you know, I didn't even say anything to Bob when he asked me why did I tell him. I didn't say anything at all. At that point, I was lost for words, and I was just over it. And I just didn't know what I had to do to get out of that situation, but I was ready to do it. I was sick of it. I was done. So, after that, me and my grandma had a really rocky relationship. And she ended up taking me to this building. And when I walk in the building, it's like teddy bears with like hidden cameras inside the teddy bears. And, you know, they had toys and stuff, so I'm pretty sure they didn't expect for children to come in here and talk to see the cameras, but they weren't very well hidden. Before I even got out of the car to get in the building, my grandma had turned around to me while I was in the back seat and told me, you're gonna tell these people that you lied on Bob because he owed you $20. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to lie and tell them it didn't happen. It was like, even though so much negativity seemed like it was coming out of it being told, at the same time, it was a big relief for me to even tell it. Like, for me to get it out of me, it was a big relief. So I didn't want to lie. I had already got my truth out and I didn't want to take it back. But she told me to go in there and lie and tell them that he owed me $20, so I lied. She told me that if I didn't, she was going to send me to a foster home. So I went in there and I basically did what she told me to do. And I told them that I lied on him because he owed me $20. A couple days after that, I went back to school, and when I got to school, I went to the bathroom. When I got into the bathroom, there was this girl there that was friends with my sister, and she just looked me dead in my eyes and asked me, "How could you lie on your family member over $20?" And my heart just dropped. And I was just wondering, like, how did this get to school? The last thing you want the school to know is that you admitted that you lied on a family member because they owed you $20. It was so embarrassing. And I was just wondering how she found out until I put two and two together. My sister had told her. I guess at that time my grandma had gotten in everyone's head and had them thinking I was lying. So, since she told that story to my family members and they chose not to believe me, immediately after that I just turned into like a rebel. I was doing everything I wasn't supposed to do. I stopped going to school and started skipping school every day. I was not going to school at all. It wasn't skipping some days of the week. I was skipping school every single day. Mind you, this is a couple years later at this point. The case was thrown out after I said that. I lied because he owed me $20. So, yeah, a couple years later, me and my grandmother, we just was getting into it bad ever since that situation. She did let me know if someone had to go between me or him, it would be me. So, I kind of just walked on eggshells and tried to stay out the way. The more I got in trouble in school and the more she found out, the more she wanted me out. So eventually I got in so much trouble that she was just like, "You have to go." And the foster care system wasn't moving fast enough for her. So at that time she thought it was best that I went with my uncle for a little bit or until they found a place for me in the foster care system. I went and I moved in with my uncle. I remember her packing my bags. I remember her dropping me off. I remember walking in there. At the time that I walked into the home, my uncle was there and his girlfriend was at work. I walked in, my uncle was really drunk and he was just talking to me. He was just trying so hard to find out why I was skipping. Why are you being so bad? Why can't your grandma handle you? Why are you always getting in trouble? He just wanted to know why. And I really didn't have an answer to give him. I didn't know what to tell him at this point. So I just told him I didn't know. And he told me that he did know why. And he told me that the reason why I was getting into so much trouble and being so bad is because I needed to have an orgasm. And after that, he asked me if I knew what an orgasm was. And I told him the truth, and that was no. So at that point, he proceeded to walk into the kitchen, grab a beer, take out a gallon of milk, mix them, and tell me this is what an orgasm looks like. I wasn't completely uneducated about sex, but deep into detail, I didn't know too much about sex. I hadn't had sex myself. I was, still a virgin, and so I didn't know what an orgasm was. So then after that, he took me inside of his bedroom and he told me that he was gonna give me one. And at that point, he told me to lay down on his bed. I sat on the bed and he told me to lay down. And I shook my head no. And I just remember him saying, when you get where you're going, you're not going to be able to tell them no. And he was just like, so lay down. And the more he was telling me to lay down, the more aggressive he was getting. So I told him no. And he said, you're not going to be able to tell them no. And I said, well, I'm going to tell them no. I was standing there on my shit, y'all. This was already happening, and I was not finna just, make it so easy to just be anyone's little doll. So yeah, I told him no, over and over and over, until he finally gave up. And the next morning when he woke up, he told me he was drunk and that he apologized. About a week after that, my grandma ended up coming to pick me up and taking me to a foster care assistance program. So going into this building, I would be leaving out of this building and going to my very first foster home. And this story is just really, really long, y'all. It's so long. So I'm just gonna stop the story there. I am gonna say that the family member, Bob, is still in my life. I see him all the time. He's very important to the family. They love him. Everyone in the family loves him. And, that's just how it is. So I just try to live with it. And that just really explains why I did a video that I did on how to get over your past. Did that same video tonight, honestly, because I don't think if I would have did that video, I would be even doing this video right now. But it's so important for y'all to know out here, it don't matter who don't believe you, you stand on your truth. And you don't let nobody continuously do anything to you that you don't want done. The hardest thing I had to learn growing up was saying no. Saying no was so hard for me. Still to this day, saying no is hard for me. And I'm working on that because it's my body. I'm my own person, and I should be able to make every decision that I make for my life boldly without being scared of what the next person would think. This situation has affected me in so many ways. I have never, felt like I've had a real orgasm. I definitely feel different feelings, but I've never had a orgasm, a real orgasm. And every time that I try to, it's just like my body is so tense that I'm not allowing myself to release the orgasm. So I definitely been working on trying to get over this situation. It's really hard when you're still around the same people, and I waited over 15 years for an apology from my grandmother before I talked to her again, ever since she put me in foster care. And now she has a dementia, and she doesn't even remember. And she'll never remember. One of my next videos I'll put up will be into detail about the foster care situation and how everything went with that. This story was a little too long for me to add it on to, but I'm definitely gonna get into a part 2 of this story. There's more that I have that I just don't have time to tell y'all, but I'm also writing a book about the situation as well. Subscribe, y'all. What the fuck? Bye.